Sometimes you don't know just how good you have it until you lose it. Welcome to another daily devotion from Hope Lutheran Church. Today we are in Genesis chapter 29. In Genesis 28, Jacob was on the run from his brother Esau, who was angry enough to want to kill him because of Jacob having swindled him, having deceived his own dad. And God had given him this dream in which God promises to continue to bless him and to give him a descendants that would be numerous, and from his offspring all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Well, that's pointing forward to Jesus, but in the more immediate future, Jacob is thinking about family. He's had to run away from home. He's had to leave his family behind, and now he's going in search of relatives, and he's hoping to find a wife. So let's pick it up here in Genesis chapter 29. Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the fields, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it. For out of that well the flocks were watered. The stone on the well's mouth was large, and when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where do you come from?" They said, "We are from Haran." He said to them, "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" They said, "We know him." He said to them, "Is it well with him?" They said, "It is well. And see, Rachel his daughter is coming with the sheep." He said, "Behold, it is still high day. It is not time for the livestock to be gathered. Water the sheep and go, pasture them." But they said, "We cannot until all the flocks are gathered together and the stone is rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. Now as soon as Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban's mother's brother, Jacob came near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. Jacob told Laban all these things, and Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." And he stayed with him a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, "Because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be?" Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. Jacob loved Rachel, and he said, "I will serve you 7 years for your daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to any other man. Stay with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Jacob had to be on the run. He had to leave behind his loved ones, his mom, his dad, his twin brother. He had taken them for granted all his life. He had abused the relationships he had with them. He had taken advantage of them. And now, as a result of his own actions, he had, at least for a time, lost being able to be with them. He was feeling the weight of that as he was making this 550-mile journey to Haran. Can you imagine all of this on foot, step after step after step after step for 550 miles? He's feeling the weight of what he has lost. But he's sustained in this journey because of the promises of God. God had promised to be with him, to sustain him, to bless him. And so even as he's mourning what he has lost, he's anticipating what it is that God is going to do for him, how God is going to bless him. And when he arrives at Haran, he's not at all let down. He arrives there. He finds Rachel. He has this manly act of strength to show off for her as he single-handedly takes the lid off of the well, which would have normally been done by more than one man, and he single-handedly takes it off so all the sheep can be watered. And then he sees her, and he's thinking right off the bat, this could be my wife. I've come here looking for a wife. That's why my mom sent me here. I mean, that was kind of the reason to get me out of town, to avoid being killed by Esau. But it really is something that I need. I need to find a wife. And so he's thinking that Rachel could possibly be his wife. Now, he finds his uncle Laban. Rachel goes and finds him. He comes back and he says, surely you are my bone and my flesh. This is kind of like Adam saying to Eve, you are bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. He's saying, you are my relative. Of course, being my relative, I'm going to treat you well. That's what the connotation is there. You know, we're on the same page. We're on the same team. We're in the same family. And so Laban, after a month, he takes a month to kind of get to know Jacob, to vet the story probably too, to make sure he really is the relative he claims to be. Then he says, hey, you know what? What should I pay you to be working for me? And Jacob says, what I want is to marry your daughter. So for 7 years, he has this agreement. For 7 years, I'll work for you, and you will give me your daughter Rachel to be my wife. And Jacob is very, very pleased, because what he has found is God blessing him with family once again. It can be so easy for us to take family for granted, can't it? They're around us all the time. We don't think of the blessing that they really are to us in that moment, but they really are a blessing for us. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and we want to give thanks to God for moms. We also want to give thanks to God for dads and siblings and cousins and uncles and aunts and all of those relatives that God has placed in our lives and through whom he has blessed us and continues to bless us. Let's not take those blessings for granted. Let's give thanks to God for them, and let's also recognize them for the blessing that they are in our lives and treat them as a blessing from God. More on this tomorrow. We will be taking a look at the next events in the life of Jacob. Don't forget to join me today at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm going to be talking to Pastor Bob Riggs, and we're going to be talking about Psalm 66, which is the psalm for this coming Sunday. God's blessings. Have a great day.